The chamber of the Galactic Council was one of the largest constructions ever built in orbit. It circled a massive blue star, and its glass walls glowed faintly with reflected starlight. Inside, thousands of seats stretched in all directions, forming a circle that surrounded a central speaking platform. On this day, every seat was filled. Alien voices whispered, clicked, and hummed as the members of the council gathered to decide the fate of humanity. At the center platform stood Ambassador Elena Varga, leader of the human delegation. She was calm, though she could feel every eye, every stalk, and every alien sensor locked on her. Behind her stood a small group of human envoys, their faces steady but tight. They all knew the importance of this meeting. For weeks, rumors had spread that the council was preparing to limit Earth's growing influence. Today, the rumors would become reality. The council's speaker, a towering creature with a long crystal body that pulsed with inner light, raised its voice. The sound vibrated through the chamber like a deep bell. "Ambassador of Earth," it said, "the council recognizes your people's rapid expansion. In only a century, your kind has claimed more colonies than most species establish in 1,000 years. Your innovations spread too quickly. Your alliance has upset the balance of our galaxy. The council demands compliance," the word echoed. Compliance, it carried weight, a command dressed as diplomacy. Another delegate rose from its seat. This one had 4 eyes and a thin neck that stretched like a stalk. "You humans disrupt trade. You disturb borders. You fight wars too fiercely. We give you this choice. Submit to council oversight. Limit your colonies, share your technology, and obey our laws, or face the consequences." The chamber filled with murmurs of agreement. Many alien species nodded their heads, waved their appendages, or clicked approval. To them, humanity was a problem that had to be solved before it grew too powerful. Elena remained silent as delegate after delegate spoke. Some accused humans of greed. Others claimed humans were violent by nature. A few suggested sanctions, and one bold voice even demanded the destruction of Earth's fleets. The accusations rained down, each one designed to weaken her spirit. Yet she stood tall, her hands folded behind her back, her gaze steady. Finally, the storm of voices ended. All eyes returned to the human platform. Elena stepped forward, her voice clear and calm, cutting through the noise. "The council has spoken," she said. "You demand that humanity stop exploring. You demand that we stop reaching for the stars. You demand that we obey rules written to keep us small. But humanity was not born to kneel." Gasps spread across the chamber. Few dared speak to the council in such a tone. Elena continued, her words sharp and controlled. "We respect the council's history. We respect the species gathered here. But we will not accept chains, even if they are wrapped in the language of peace. We will not surrender our right to grow, to learn, to seek new worlds." The council speaker's crystal body flickered with irritation. "If you refuse," it said, "you risk conflict with powers beyond your imagination." Elena did not flinch. She simply inclined her head. "If that is the price of freedom, then humanity will pay it. But make no mistake, we do not come here to start wars. We came in hope of friendship. Still, if the cost of that friendship is obedience, then it is no friendship at all." Her words rolled through the chamber, echoing against the walls. Silence fell. For a long moment, no alien dared to answer. Some sat frozen in disbelief. Others whispered in hushed tones. The idea that a young species would defy the entire council was unthinkable. Then Elena turned to her fellow delegates. Without another word, she stepped off the speaking platform and began to walk toward the exit. Her team followed at once, their boots clicking on the polished floor. The silence deepened as the humans crossed the chamber. The sound of their footsteps seemed louder than any voice. Row after row of alien eyes followed them. Some burned with anger, some glittered with fear. Others, just a few, shone with something different: respect. It was not often that anyone stood against the council. At the door, Elena paused for only a second. She did not look back. She simply said, "Humanity will not comply." And then the doors closed behind her. The chamber erupted. Voices clashed in a storm of noise, anger, outrage, confusion. Delegates shouted over one another, demanding action, demanding punishment. But the humans were gone. They had not argued. They had not begged. They had simply walked out. For the first time in centuries, the council had been defied so openly. The silence they left behind was heavier than any threat. In that silence, the galaxy changed. News of humanity's defiance traveled faster than light. Across trade routes, mining colonies, and distant stations, the story spread. The humans walked out on the Galactic Council. On every world, people whispered the same question. How could a young species, barely a century into interstellar flight, dare to turn its back on the greatest authority in the galaxy? Some laughed, calling it arrogance. Others shook their heads in disbelief. Yet in the hidden corners of the galaxy, where oppressed species lived under the heavy hand of the Council, the story carried a different meaning. To them, humanity's walkout was not foolish. It was inspiring. Inside the Council's core world, the leaders met in secret chambers. The speaker's crystal body glowed with agitation as voices filled the chamber. They cannot be allowed to act freely, hissed one delegate, its body covered in scales that rippled with anger. If humans resist once, others will follow. They must be shown their place. A deep-voiced delegate, shaped like a massive stone pillar, rumbled in agreement. Sanctions. Blockade their worlds. Starve them of resources. But another voice, thin and trembling, rose in caution. Be careful. The humans are unpredictable. In war, they fight with a desperation no one matches. Their history shows they turn every struggle into growth. If we attack them, we may light a fire we cannot control. The chamber grew restless. Some wanted swift punishment. Others feared what might come. For the first time in centuries, the Council was divided. On Earth, the atmosphere was calm but determined. The governments of the planet met in a quiet hall beneath the United Terran Assembly Dome. Elena Varga stood once again, this time before her own people. Holograms of distant colonies shimmered in the air around her. Mars, Europa, Titan, Proxima, and dozens of others. All were connected by secure channels, listening to the decision that would guide their future. They asked us to kneel, Elena said, her voice firm. We refused. The galaxy will now wait to see if we tremble. But we do not tremble. We stand. Across the colonies, leaders and citizens alike cheered. A farmer on Mars raised his hand toward the red sky. Engineers on Titan shouted in crowded domes. Children on Proxima Colony whispered to each other that they were part of something historic. For the first time, humanity was not just surviving in the galaxy. It was leading itself with unbroken confidence. But not all was celebration. Military leaders worked day and night. Shipyards burned with activity. Fleets were quietly reorganized, defenses strengthened. Humanity would not seek war, but they would not be caught unprepared. In the shadowed edges of the galaxy, others were watching. The Tareen, a species forced for centuries to obey the Council's trading laws, listened to human broadcasts with awe. They said no, one Tareen elder whispered, when we never dared to. On another world, the Vayari, small winged beings long crushed by Council taxes, shared recordings of Elena's words in secret gatherings. If humans can stand tall, they whispered, why not us? Soon, messages began to arrive at Earth in coded transmissions. Delegates from these oppressed peoples asked for meetings. They wanted advice, guidance, perhaps even alliance. Humanity's act of defiance was turning into something larger. It was planting seeds of rebellion. Back in the Council chambers, panic grew. A counselor with eyes like burning coals slammed its arm on the table. If this continues, the Council's authority will collapse. Every weak species will rise. We cannot allow this, another answered coldly. Then perhaps we should make an example. Strike at Earth before their influence spreads further. The speaker's light dimmed as it considered the words. For centuries, no species had dared defy the Council. The humans were the first to walk out. The question now was not whether to respond, but how. Meanwhile, on Earth's moon base, Admiral Jonas Hale inspected the newest fleet. Rows of ships floated in orbit, their hulls gleaming silver in the starlight. They were not as large as the Council's massive dreadnoughts, nor as heavily armed, but they were clever. Designed with human ingenuity, they carried adaptive systems, advanced stealth, and weapons built to surprise. They still think of us as children, Hale told his officers. That will be their mistake. If they come, they'll learn we are not children, we are survivors. The officers nodded. Humanity's long history of war and struggle had shaped them into something unique. They had fought each other for centuries, learned to adapt, and pushed past limits. Now all that history was turning into strength against outside threats. In quiet moments, Elena reflected on what had begun. She stood at the window of the United Terran Assembly, watching the lights of Earth's cities below. The Council had expected obedience, but instead, humanity had chosen freedom. Yet freedom always carried risk. She knew fleets might soon arrive at their borders. She knew the Council would not forgive easily. Still, she did not waver. In her heart, she believed humanity's choice was the only one worth making. "If we must stand alone," she whispered, "then we will stand alone. But I believe we will not be alone for long." And she was right. Weeks later, the first ship arrived at Earth's edge. But it was not a warship. It was a vessel from the Terrene, marked with secret symbols. They came not with weapons, but with a request. "Teach us how to say no. Show us how to stand free." Elena welcomed them in silence, her heart steady. The fracture in the galaxy had begun. Humanity's walkout was no longer just a defiance. It was becoming a movement. The Galactic Council, once unquestioned, was now shaking. Their greatest fear was coming true. Humanity's boldness was contagious. The stars above Earth grew restless. From the farthest edges of known space, signals arrived. Reports of the Council's fleets moving. Massive ships larger than cities began to gather. Their hulls gleamed with the power of centuries-old empires. To many species, the sight of these dreadnoughts meant submission. To humanity, it meant a test. In the United Terran Assembly, the leaders sat in silence as the latest images appeared in holograms. Admiral Jonas Hale stood at the center, pointing to glowing markers showing the Council's warships. "They are not here for talks," he said firmly. "They mean to break us with fear. They believe we will surrender before the first shot is fired." Elena Varga's eyes narrowed. "Then we must show them that fear no longer rules us." The chamber was quiet for a long moment. Every leader knew what was at stake. To defy the Council once had been bold. To defy them twice in the face of war was something no species had ever dared. But humanity had already chosen its path. The fleets gathered near the outer rim of human space. Council broadcasts began to flood every frequency. Their message was clear. This is your final chance. Return to compliance or face destruction. On Earth, the message was played on every screen. Children, workers, and soldiers watched it together. But instead of despair, the sight of the Council's threats only hardened their resolve. They remembered Elena's words. "We were not born to kneel." Across the colonies, preparations continued. Mars activated hidden defense platforms. Titan's shipyards launched new cruisers. The Moon's bases stood ready, their cannons charged. Humanity would not wait helplessly. But when the Council prepared to advance, something unexpected happened. A small fleet appeared beside Earth's defenses. The ships were not human, they were Terrene. The very species that once feared the Council now flew under new banners. Behind them came the winged Veyari, their light vessels darting like birds. More ships followed from other oppressed worlds, their hulls painted with strange colors and unfamiliar markings. For the first time, the Council's fleet faced not only humans, but a coalition of species united by one choice: freedom. In the assembly, Elena addressed the galaxy through a wide broadcast. Her voice was calm but filled with strength. "We do not seek war. We seek respect. We seek the right to stand as equals. The Council believes it can frighten us into silence. But look around you. The galaxy is already changing. We are no longer alone. Today we declare the birth of something new, the alliance of free worlds." Her words carried across every channel. Billions heard them. Some cheered openly. Others whispered in secret, afraid of Council spies. But in every corner of the galaxy, hearts stirred. The Council's fleet commanders hesitated. Their orders were to intimidate, perhaps even to strike. But now they faced not one rebellious world, but dozens standing together. Destroying Earth would not crush rebellion. It might spread it further. Inside their massive warships, debates began. "If we fire, the galaxy may ignite," one captain argued. Another insisted, "If we hesitate, the Council's power will collapse." They looked to their leaders for guidance, but the Council itself was divided. The speaker's light flickered uncertainly. For centuries, their authority had been unshaken. Now, for the first time, they felt it slipping. On the human side, Admiral Hale stood aboard the flagship Resolute. His officers reported that the Council's ships were holding position, waiting. The tension stretched like a wire ready to snap. One wrong move could start a war that would burn across the stars. But humanity did not fire. Instead, the Alliance broadcast another message, this time from Jonas Hale. His voice was steady, commanding. "We will not strike first. We are not here to conquer. We are here to live free. If you come with war, we will answer with strength. If you come with peace, we will answer with friendship. The word spread. Every captain in the council fleet heard them. Every soldier waiting for orders listened. For many, it was the first time an enemy had spoken not with threats but with dignity. The standoff lasted hours, then days. Finally, the council's fleet withdrew. Not in surrender, not in defeat, but in uncertainty. They had expected an easy show of power. Instead, they found themselves facing something they did not understand, a movement larger than fear. When the news reached the wider galaxy, the effect was explosive. On distant worlds, citizens rose up to question the council's authority. On trade routes, merchants began to choose independence. The council remained powerful, but its grip was weakening. Back on Earth, celebrations filled the cities. People filled the streets, waving banners, singing, and looking to the sky with hope. For the first time, humanity was not just a young species trying to survive. It was a leader of something greater. In the assembly, Elena stood before her fellow delegates. "We have taken the first step," she said softly. "The galaxy is vast, and our struggle is only beginning. But today proves one truth: the age of obedience is ending. The age of choice is beginning." Admiral Hale stood beside her, his eyes on the stars beyond the dome. "They thought walking out was our greatest act. They were wrong. Our greatest act is standing together no matter the cost." Far away in the council's chamber, the speaker dimmed its light. It knew the truth, though it would not admit it aloud. The humans had changed the galaxy forever. No decree, no fleet, no threat could erase what had been born that day. Humanity had walked out, and by doing so, had opened a door that could never be closed.